I'm joined now by retired Air Vice-Marshal Sean Bell. Hello again to you, Sean. This is something we've been talking about this morning, confirmation that they have plans to send. How significant is it?
Yeah, it's worth remembering President Zelensky in Ukraine, if they are to prevail in this war, they need to get onto the offence. There's been much talk about a spring offensive, but if that is to work, they desperately need tanks. Now, they have a lot of tanks, but they're all former Soviet Union tanks, which are relatively vulnerable, particularly if they're going to go on the attack against Russia. So what they need is modern tanks to be able to, for this spring offensive. There's been lots of speculation for days that the UK will give up some Challenger 2 main battle tanks that are shown here. One of the features of this tank has been around since the mid-90s, but it's got this chopper armour on it, which will take a direct hit from a relatively modern T-72 Russian tank and won't destroy it. The downside of this is that these tanks, there's not that many of them about. The only users of them, the UK and Oman. We've only got, I think, 227 of them. I understand 143 are due to be upgraded to Challenger 3. Leaves only about 79 that are available or might have been disposed of, so there is the potential. But when you have a tank only available in small numbers, the spares are only available in small numbers. It's a specific round that's fired from these because it's got a rifled barrel, so they're not available in big numbers either. But you know, it does appear that if our Prime Minister has confirmed today that in a conversation with President Zelensky that the UK is going to provide, we understand, about 10 of these tanks to Ukraine, woefully short of the numbers of tanks that they'd actually need, which is probably well over 100. But of course, there just aren't the numbers of those to provide. The key reason for this, though, appears to be unlocking European opportunities to export the Leopard 2 tank, which is much more broadly used in, it's shown here, there's over 2,000 of these in service with 13 different countries. Therefore, the Ukraine could benefit from a significant number of these without significantly denting the stocks from Europe. The challenge is it's a German tank, and the German, therefore, holds the licensing for this, and they will only agree to people exporting it. So by the UK taking the initiative, it means Germany potentially will follow suit. We understand Poland's looking to potentially go up to 14 of these tanks very smoothly. The challenge, of course, these take a long time to train people. So if you're going to have these tanks, one thing putting the tanks into the Ukraine, it's quite another getting trained crews ready. And if they want to mount a spring offensive, they need to get moving with these deployments.
Mm-hmm. OK, let's go back to Soledar, this salt mining town. What do we know about what's happening there? Who controls it?
Well, the fighting's been very, very fierce, hasn't it? And the question is, has it fallen or not? And what does that actually mean? For some, it means that there's no longer any Ukrainian troops in there, just Russian troops. From a military perspective, this is more of a judgment about who controls the town rather than actually getting rid of everybody. There's no doubt there are still Ukrainian soldiers in there. Russia's got to do some mopping up, but almost certainly the Ukrainians have suffered a defeat in Soledar. The big issue, though, is that they've exacted a huge toll on the Russian convicts. The casualty rates are astronomical. And actually, almost certainly, the worry was that Russia would then suddenly capitalise and encircle Bakhmut, whereas, in fact, it looks almost certain they're going to have to catch their breath, and it will be a while before they're ready to take that next step. For me, though, the really interesting part of this is that the Wagner Group, who was the lead for the battle here, claimed victory a few days ago, but both the Kremlin and Ukraine said Soledar hasn't fallen yet. Yesterday, the Kremlin said that it had fallen, and even though Ukraine, doesn't agree with that at the moment, but it's all about Prigozhin here. That's the real issue, and it was only literally at the end of the battle, President Putin acknowledged the great support that the Russian army had done, the assault troops, the armoured vehicles, the artillery, didn't even mention the Wagner Group. And it was only 6 hours later that he acknowledged that they had actually been a part in this.
OK, Sean Bell, thank you so much. We're going to leave it there. Thank you.
Okay.